Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back, and thanks for joining me on another Northern Michigan adventure. This is one of my favorite areas to come to for kayak camping trips and backpacking trips, but it has been quite some time since I've been on a Northern Michigan backpacking trip, and I'm really excited to tackle the 73-mile high country pathway. I just discovered this trail less than 2 weeks ago, and I've heard and read amazing things about it. I can't believe I never knew about it, so I'm really excited to get out on this trail and see what it has to offer. And in my opinion, this is the best time of the year to go backpacking. No more heat and humidity, no more bugs, no more spiders, the leaves are changing. What more could you ask for? All right, I'm officially on the high country pathway proper, and I probably should have stated back there where I began. It was at Clear Lake State Park. I'm doing the high country pathway counterclockwise from Clear Lake. It seems like most of the information I read about and videos I watched, people like to start at Pigeon River State Forest campground and go clockwise. But I wanted to mix it up. I know people have started at Clear Lake, but just to clarify for this video, for those of you who may be watching and wanting to do this same trail, I started at Clear Lake and we'll be going counterclockwise. That's cool. Seems like I'm surrounded by oak right now though. We've had some light rain for the last 2 hours. I was actually ready to hit the trail around 11:30 this morning, but when I saw rain was moving in, I decided to wait it out, and I drove around and looked at some of the state forest campgrounds. I went up and looked at Tomahawk and Shoepac. I'll probably end up at one of those tonight, and unless I make a really good time, I might make it all the way to Canada Shelter, but I doubt it. So yeah, it's a little dreary, drizzly, overcast today, but that's all right. I had to start today, but for the next 3 days that I'm out here, it's gonna be nearly full sunshine and a gradual increase in temperatures all the way up into the 60s during the day. And nighttime low tonight's gonna be right at freezing, I believe. So it's gonna be pretty chilly. But later in the week, or the next couple of days that I'm out here, the low will be upper 30s, so that'll be a little better. I just entered this clear cut area. Only like a mile in. Whew, it's a little cold up here. I think it's about 44 degrees, 42 to 44 degrees. But with the wind blowing, it makes it feel a lot colder. Maybe it's just me not being used to the cold yet. That's probably part of it. It's just warm enough that I don't want to get my hat and gloves out, but just cold enough that I keep thinking about it. If we dip back in the woods here for a while and get off this hill and keep moving at a good clip, I should warm up. So I probably should mention my plans for this trip. For those of you who want to plan something similar, I didn't get on trail till 1:15 today. So I'm not gonna be doing any crazy miles today, probably just 10 or 15 miles. And I'll definitely wanna stop at least an hour before dark. I'm not planning on doing any night hiking on this trip unless I absolutely have to. And the next 2 days will be 25s. And that should leave 10 or 15 miles for my 4th day. So that's kind of my plan. So for those of you who are new to my channel, over the past 5 years, I've been into fast packing, which is just a really lightweight hiking fast, and fastest known times, FKTs, and ultra racing. So typically, I would come to a trail like this and just knock it out in 24 to 30 hours. Maybe a quick overnight, a little cat nap, keep on moving and be done. And maybe even attempt the record, which is 20 hours. I'm probably not in good enough shape to do that now, but I think I could have been competitive in that, you know, a year or two ago. But anyway, those days are kind of behind me now, and I'm just back to my first love of backpacking. So I still like to push the envelope a little bit. I like doing some 25, 30 mile days, but not too worried about the difficulty of this trail. I'm pretty confident I can do that easily. I've read all over the place online and Facebook about how rugged this wilderness is and to be prepared. But if I compare this to some of the stuff I've done in the last 5 years in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Tennessee, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be really tame for me. Still rocking the Ultra Olympus 4s, my final pair. Wow, the sun's out. I can see my shadow, I can't believe it. I did not expect that today. When the 5s came out, I bought 3 pairs of the 4s because I like them so much. and this is the final pair. I don't think I'm ever gonna find the 4s again. Maybe just in some odd sizes, but not in my 11s. They're pretty much gone. So maybe I'll try the 6s next, I don't know. Oh, and if you don't know what those are, those black things look like sock coverings. Those are Dirty Girl gaiters. Keeps all the sand and debris out of your shoes. Pigeon trekking poles. The compact 3s. World's lightest aluminum trekking pole at 158 grams. And the hoodie I'm wearing is a Kui. And the backpack. Light AF Curve 35. Frameless backpack. Love it. It's one of the most comfortable packs. It is the most comfortable pack I've ever worn, and I've tried a bunch. Topo Athletic shoes have been my favorite brand for probably the last 2 to 3 years. I kind of alternated back and forth between Topo and Ultra. For some reason, you know, I love the toe box in Topos, but for some reason they make my feet pronate inwards just a little bit, my ankles, and I don't like that. So I've went through probably 4 pairs of the Ultra Venture 2s, and I don't like those anymore. They're just too narrow on my toes. I like a really wide toe box. The Ultra Venture 3s were almost a perfect shoe, but the tread was terrible. So I tried the Pursuits, and the Pursuit 2s, I think that's what it was, or maybe it's the original Pursuit 1s, I forget. But then they just came out with a new one because my original ones went bad, or they're just worn out. And the new ones, they were just a little short in the toe, and I noticed that my feet were pronating in. So I sent them back, and I'm back to the Olympus 4s. I've had a lot of people ask me, why don't I wear Hokas? Especially when I was into ultra running. Everybody wore Hokas. Either Hokas or Ultras or Topos, it seemed like. I tried the Hokas on. They're just way too pointy in the toes. They squished all my toes together. I've worn these wide toe box Ultras for on and off for 7 years, and your feet just naturally start to splay out wider, your toes. And when you go back to a conventional shoe that's narrow in the front, like a Nike or a Asics or New Balance or Reebok, all those, including Hokas, very uncomfortable for me. Glad to see the blue sky has made an appearance. And the sunshine. We got some elk tracks. It's a lot bigger than a deer. This area of Michigan is home to the largest elk herd east of the Mississippi. I bet some people in Pennsylvania would beg to differ, but I know there are elk up here. I've seen them when I've been mushroom hunting up near the Gaylord, Atlanta area. Well, maybe 20 years ago. So I know they're here. Maybe we'll get lucky and see some. Oh, I just remember reading that elk are in rut right now. Wouldn't that be awesome to see 2 elk fighting? I got my drone with me too. We're gonna try to get some epic shots. Hopefully the wind dies down tomorrow. I doubt if I'll try to fly it today. It's pretty windy. But if I could get a drone shot of some elk fighting, oh my gosh, that would make the trip for me. Man, look how pretty those yellow trees are. That's gorgeous. And you can probably see all the ferns are dead. So they've either run their course here at the end of the season, or maybe they've had a couple light frost, just enough to kill them. But I have read that if you come through here in the spring, well, really the summer, like August, you're gonna have 4-foot high ferns to contend with through places like this. Wow, just came into a different kind of scenery here. It actually reminds me of Ocala National Forest in Florida. It looked very similar to this. Wouldn't it be cool to see a bear out there somewhere? I know they're out here. Check out this old sign. Location of the town of McPhee, a pine logging town. A lot of dead ferns. I can see how these would be a real pain in summer and early fall. There's a lot of this trail that's reminding me of the Palmetto Trail in South Carolina. And sometimes this ground reminds me of the Cranberry Wilderness in Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia and Dolly Sods. A lot of similarities. And even the Quihana Trail in the PA wilds. Doggone it, it's sprinkling out again. This was not in the forecast. Testing out my new Montville umbrella. It's only 34 inches across and it weighs like 3.5 or 4 ounces. This should be all I need right now. If it gets any harder, I'll get my raincoat out or my rain jacket. I just don't want to get this hoodie or fleece wet because I probably will be sleeping in this tonight. All right, we got a trail crossing here, I think. See, it sounds like it's clearing up already. I didn't want to stop and dig my rain jacket out of my backpack. I think it's buried under my food bag. Didn't want to get it out unless I absolutely needed to. And I'm glad I didn't stop and do it because I think the rain's over already. Currently about 2 miles away from Tomahawk State Forest Campground, but I'm going to continue on to Shoepac, which is just another half mile or a mile further. And we'll see what time it is. I may just continue on and stealth camp along the trail, I don't know. But if it's getting kind of late and I'm getting hungry at Shoepac, I think we'll set up camp there. Boy, this weather just can't make up its mind today. I've had to get the umbrella out 3 times already in the last hour. And now it's bright and sunny again. But it's dark, there's dark clouds behind the sun. So I'll probably get rained on again. That's a cool old fence. I'd love to know the story behind that. Now this part of the trail really reminds me of the high hills of Santee Passage on the Palmetto Trail in South Carolina. A lot of sand up here. Just about to Tomahawk Lake. So it won't be too much further on up to Shoepac. Welcome to Tomahawk Lake. It's pretty and windy. We probably got a mile or two to the campground. I'll point it out when we go by. All right, I just realized I made a mistake on the name of that lake. That was not Tomahawk Lake, that was Tomahawk Creek Flooding. That's the name of it. There's actually 2 campgrounds, east and west, Tomahawk Creek Flooding campgrounds. That's what they're called. So the actual Tomahawk Lake that has the regular state forest campground that I was looking for is still a couple miles away, it looks like. That sun sure feels nice, but the breeze is still pretty chilly. Check out these cool feathers. All 3 of them sitting on the ground next to each other. They're almost like toothpicks on one end. And look how pretty they are on the other side. Really bright yellow, black tipped. I have no idea what these are. Anybody know? Here's one of those campgrounds I was telling you about. Very peaceful back here. These pines do an amazing job of killing the wind. Be an awesome place to camp. Okay, now we are at Tomahawk Lake. Almost to the campground. All right, I made it here to the Tomahawk Campground Spur Trail, but I am continuing on to Shoepac. Less than 1 mile, I think. Wow, the trail spits you out right at Shoepac. I was here earlier today in my truck while I was waiting out the rain. Drove around, checked out the sites, and they look pretty nice. Let's go find a site. All right, this is home tonight, site 12. Looks like it'll work just fine. And it's kind of calm right here. I like that. I think I'm gonna put the tent up right over there. One thing I'm doing different on this trip is I'm using my Nemo switchback. I did not feel like blowing up an air mattress every night. The Nemo tensor, which is what I usually use. So we're gonna try this out on this trip. Putting up a little homemade kickstand here for some more head and foot room in the tent. Any little stick will work. Just like that. On the menu for dinner tonight, Stowaway Gourmet jambalaya with shrimp. I bought this meal last year for the Palmetto Trail section hike that I did in in February. So it was this year. And I didn't need it. And I took it on probably 2 more trips. And I always kept holding off from using it because it costs like $16.95 or something ridiculous like that. But you know what? I'm having it tonight. It sounds so good. Oh, jeez. That wasn't good. My word. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I about got torched. Oh man, look at those big shrimp down in there. The only bad thing about this meal, no, 2 bad things. I can't stand the shape of the bag. I prefer Pinnacle meals. They're shaped the other direction. They open on the long side. These are so hard to eat, even with a long spoon. And I see that it's only 517 calories. I like dinners that are 2 servings and 800 to 1,000 calories. 10 or 15 minutes and I'll be ready to eat. I'm so ready to get my feet out of these shoes. They are soaking wet. Everything was wet when I started hiking today. So within a half hour of starting, it's pretty wet. It feel good to get my feet dried out. Whew. It's getting pretty chilly. That is pretty darn good. Highly recommend that. Excellent. You know, as much as I enjoy stealth camping out in the middle of nowhere, making my own camp, this is pretty comforting at the end of a long day. Not that my hiking day was that long. I think I hiked for 5 hours, about 13 miles. But I've been up since 4 a.m., so I'm pretty beat. So I'm glad to be here and have a picnic table to sit on and have a fire pit and my tent all right here together. I shouldn't have to worry about wet feet for the rest of this trip, except maybe early in the morning. It's supposed to be sunny for the next week. Even though it's going to start out kind of cold tomorrow, it's going to be a gradual warm up throughout the week. So I'm looking forward to that. I've seen many a shoe insole melt over the years, so I'm being very, very cautious. That would ruin my hike. And see them steaming pretty good. Yeah, I gotta be careful. All right, I'm ready to turn in for the night. It's only like 8 o'clock. But, you know, what else do you do around camp except sit around the fire? I'm pretty tired. Like I said earlier, I've been up since 4, so I'm going to turn in early. Hopefully get a good night's sleep, and I'm really wanting to go close to 25 miles tomorrow, if possible. Minimum 20. We'll see where we end up. But I'm hoping I start getting into more of the scenic sections of this trail tomorrow. I know we're going to be hiking along the Pigeon River eventually, crossing some boardwalks and bridges and fording some rivers. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Today was kind of boring, to be honest with you. It's probably the side that's least exciting. Let's put it that way. So I think, well, I'm only 14 miles in out of 73 or so. So there's a lot to see out here yet. I've just barely scratched the surface. But we'll see how it goes tomorrow. I'll see you then. Good night. Good morning. Day 2 on the high country pathway. And they were calling for all clouds today, but it's looking like it's going to be mostly clear from what I can see. I was hoping to be on trail by 8 a.m., but it's already 7:40, so it's not going to quite happen. But that's all right. It's been nice enjoying the fire and sleeping in a little bit. There we go. Haven't had a Peak Refuel breakfast skillet for quite some time. Probably almost 2 years. I mean, it looks fantastic. Big chunks of peppers in there and onions, sausage, egg. The breakfast skillet from Peak Refuel is definitely a step ahead, or a step above the breakfast skillet from Mountain House. But Mountain House is like $8 or $9. These are probably $13.95. At least they were last year when I bought them. And it just needs a touch more salt, I think. Some people complain that the Mountain Houses are too salty, and they definitely don't need any more salt, but this is lacking just a smidge. But the fresh vegetables of, you know, onions, red and green bell peppers, and, you know, there's tons of potatoes and pork sausage in here, and of course egg. So yeah, this is pretty good. This ought to help me get through my 25 miles today. However, I do have one little problem here with my pinky toe. I'm not sure what is going on right there in the corner. Last night, you know, my feet were wet from walking in the light rain and the, you know, the wet ground all day. This was all swollen up right here. I don't know what that is. It's almost like a partial nail, a new separate nail on the outside of the main nail. But that is so tender and sore right now. I might try to cut away at that a little bit and then wrap it up with some Leuco tape. But as long as my feet don't get wet, I should be all right. It was hurting me pretty bad yesterday, and it even woke me up in the middle of the night, you know, scraping the back of my quilt. So hopefully this doesn't get any worse, or it could jeopardize my hike of this trail. So I forgot my toenail clippers, but fortunately I have this little Leatherman squirt, and I was able to trim up the edge of that nail a little bit and wrap some Leuco tape around it. You know, it's the best I can do with what I got. It's definitely feeling better. I think I'll be all right. But if I would have to walk in wet conditions all day again, I don't know if I could have handled it. It was altering my walk yesterday because it was so painful. But fortunately, we have that today. All right, finally on the move, leaving Shoepac campground at 8:45. 45 minutes behind schedule. That is not how I wanted to start the day with 25 miles ahead of me. I'm shooting for Pine Grove State Forest Campground. It's almost exactly 25 miles from here. I'm pretty sure I'll still make it before dark. I'd like to be done hiking by 5, but I'll probably have to go till 6. Carrying a pack and walking, it's kind of hard to go over 3 miles an hour. So if you crunch the numbers, it's gonna put me there between 5 and 6. You know, I'm sure I'm gonna have to stop for a lunch break, filtering water, bathroom breaks, etc. Well, I'm just glad to see a clear blue sky. We got sunny, dry, calm weather for the rest of this week. Wow, I would definitely say we are in full color. That is beautiful. The colors really pop when the sky is clear blue and the sun's out. This is exactly what I was looking for. Leaves just starting to fall in full color. Man, it doesn't get much better than this. No bugs, no spider webs, no heat and humidity. Well, I guess I'm doing 26 miles today, not 25. I made a wrong turn. I turned onto the Sinkholes Pathway, or whatever it's called, Sinkholes Trail. This is not the high country pathway. It hugs Shoepac Lake for a little while. Goes the other direction. Gosh, what an idiot. I don't know why I thought I was going the right way. Oh well, at least it was a beautiful walk. Right there is where I made the wrong turn to the sinkholes. There's the correct pathway right there. Man, that is gorgeous. I wouldn't mind owning a piece of property on that little lake. Beautiful. Not too shabby. Beautiful reflection. Our first boardwalk, and it's covered in frost. It got cold last night. Crossing M33, almost to the Canada shelter. Another mile or two, I think. Got a pretty nice view up here on top of this little mini ridge we're on. They even give you a little seat to sit and enjoy it. So up here on top of this hill, there's an actual parking area. Looks like that you can gain access to from a vehicle. And I believe the Canada Creek shelter is going to be right down this hill here, less than a half mile. Crossing Canada Creek. I see the shelter up ahead. Wow, it's a beautiful little river. Kind of reminds me of the upper sections of the Little Manistee and the Pine River, even the Pere Marquette. They were kind of narrow and shallow like this. All right, let's go check out this shelter. Wow, I didn't know it was screened in. 4 bunk beds. And a journal. Looks like it's been at least 3 days since someone was here. All right, I wrote a little something in the journal that I stopped here for a quick break and to check out my trip on YouTube. Pretty nice little shelter. I think I'm gonna sit down for a few minutes and take off my hiking pants and get back on the move. By the way, this shelter is almost exactly 6 miles from Shoepac campground. More boardwalks. I'm sure it would be some pretty slow going through here on a bike, especially when it's slick. I'm starting to get a little low on water, and I was planning to filter some at the Black River, which is about halfway between Canada Creek and McLavy Lake and Dubby Lake. I forget what it is. I know there'd be water there. I have heard it's difficult to get water at those lakes, but I saw that there was a Black River, and I was like, well, that's perfect. That's just a couple miles down trail. And then I just came across this, and this looks fairly clean, and I see it trickling right over there. So it's moving water. It's not stagnant. And since I'm getting a little bit tired, I need a little pick-me-up. I'm gonna go ahead and filter some water here and mix up some caffeinated Tailwind to give me a little boost. Using the Platypus Quick Draw water filter. I love the flow rate of the Quick Draw. It's not that much different than the Sawyer Squeeze, but I like how you can cap both ends off. It has a cap for this end and this end, so it's much easier to throw it inside your foot box of your quilt to keep it from freezing. Wow, check out those colors over there. Beautiful. This is South Black River Road. And there's the Black River. That is definitely some easy access. I did not expect that. Looks like the trail goes back in the woods right over here across the bridge. Wow, that's a nice looking river. I might just have to check this one out for kayaking. Looks like it's flowing really good too. I have no idea how long this river is, but that is beautiful. That's my kind of kayaking river right there. Not too big and moving fast. All right, I thought it was time for a midday update. Well, it's a little past midday, it's almost 1 o'clock, but I am 12.5 miles in, which is my halfway point for today if I decide to go all the way to Pine Grove Campground. I know I can make it. It's probably gonna be pretty close to 6 by the time I get there, just because, you know, I gotta stop and eat lunch here in a little bit. I'm getting hungry. But, oh, and also, I plan on stopping at McLavy Lake and Dubby Lake. I hope I'm pronouncing those correctly. I believe there's, you know, primitive campsites that someone has established there, and I wanna see them. I think I'm only about 2 or 3 miles away from them, and then it's probably a quarter mile to a half mile of trail, something like that. There's a slight chance that I might just stop there and call it a day. The thing is, that'd only be like 15 miles for the day. It's not very far. Most likely I'll keep on going, but I am on the lookout for a good lunch spot. Oh, and by the way, I've had excellent cell service here recently. Since that Black River to here, 2 to 3 bars. I've been able to get online and do anything I want. Yesterday it was mainly just 1 bar, but I was still able to get online. So everybody talks about how there's no cell service out here. It's been great for me so far. I know I'm only 1/3 of the way around the trail. Maybe it's gonna get worse throughout today, rest of today and tomorrow and the next day, but so far so good. This little 2-track trail through the woods is pretty nice for a change. So much of the trail that I've been on so far is very narrow, and there's often weeds and twigs and shrubs scraping your legs. So this is a nice change. This is a very runnable trail so far, at least the 20-some miles, 25 miles I've been on from Clear Creek going counterclockwise. Very runnable. It would be a fast race. So I've always wanted to use birch bark to try to start my fire. So I'm gonna take some of this for my fire tonight. I don't know how much I need. I'm just taking the stuff that's kind of already ripped back. Put that in my pack and we'll see how it works. All right, stopping here for a quick lunch break. Just a tortilla wrap, 2 beef sticks, and 1 cheese. I thought I had 2 cheeses, but I can't find the second one, so I must have left it at home. So I just split it in half, and then I grabbed a bunch of condiments at Walmart at the deli stand. Mayonnaise, mustard, hot sauce, relish. I know it's a crazy combination, but I'm so hungry I could eat about anything. Well, that was a nice 10-minute break. I really wanted more food. I wanted to cook some ramen, but I just didn't feel like stopping for that long. I still got almost 10 miles to Pine Grove Campground. I really want to try to make it there. Next up will be Doobie and McLavy Lake. We'll check them out before moving on. Well, that's pretty cool. McCready's Field Homestead site. Interesting. So I was just crunching the numbers. It's about 2:45 right now. So I've been on trail for 6 hours. And I almost have 3 more hours, most likely, to Pine Grove Campground, which would put me there at 5:45. And that's still within my time that I set for myself. And I would be there before dark. So most likely that's what we'll do. But if there is an epic campsite somewhere along the way, near a river, or just anywhere after 20 miles, I would consider stopping. Man, it's like we just entered a new environment, all mossy and dark on this boardwalk. Pretty cool. Quite an extensive boardwalk right here, and I'm not really sure why. It doesn't look wet and boggy around it at all. Maybe it is in the spring, I don't know. This took a lot of work to build. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I guess it is. There's some standing water down there. And it's really dry right now, pretty much everywhere. There's some water. Really cool boardwalk. It'd be hard to filter from here just because it's so high above the water. All right, I'm here at the Doobie Lake and McLavy Lake spurs. And Doobie Lake is a lot closer, almost half the distance than McLavy Lake. I don't think I want to take time to do both. So we're at least gonna go check out Doobie Lake and then evaluate our time when I get back here. And if I do have time, I'll go check out McLavy, but most likely I'll continue on towards Pine Grove Campground. Unfortunately, I changed my mind. I'm not going to Doobie or McLavy. We're continuing on the pathway, high country pathway towards Pine Grove. I was looking at my position on Gaia as I was heading back that way towards Doobie Lake, and I was hardly making any progress towards the lake at all. The trail almost runs parallel to the trail I just came up. for a little ways. And it could end up being a half-mile long for all I know. And if I do that, I'll never make it to Pine Grove before dark. And my goal is to get there before 6, so I have an hour to relax, cook dinner, start a fire, etc., in the daylight. So, sorry, we're not getting a look at Doobie or McLavy. All right, back on the main trail. I've got approximately 8 miles to Pine Grove Campground. There it is. 20 miles for the day. It's currently 4 o'clock, and I'm pretty sure I have at least 6 miles to go to Pine Grove. I kind of wish I was done for the day, but we're gonna keep plugging away since we still have 2 good hours of daylight. Actually, we got 3 hours of daylight, but I do not want to hike past 6 if I can avoid it. So if we don't get to Pine Grove by 6 o'clock, in about 6 more miles, I'll probably stop and set up camp somewhere, and then I'll stop at Pine Grove in the morning for getting water and cooking breakfast. Well, that brings up another point. I have to find water somewhere between now and camp tonight because I am just about out. I know there's a lake coming up called Dog Lake. I don't know if there's easy access to it or if there's even a trail to it, because it's not on this trail. It's immediately on this trail. It's off a little ways. So there's a chance I might just have to push to Pine Grove unless I find a water source. Yeah, there's Dog Lake out there, quarter mile away. I wouldn't even attempt to get water there unless it was an emergency and I was in dire straits. Just enjoying one of my favorite trail snacks, sriracha and wasabi peas. Crunchy. Not a bad little dry campsite right here. That might be the world's smallest fire ring. Well, the sun is now on my right, which means I am heading south, which also means I'm on the final stretch down to Pine Grove Campground. Unfortunately, I just passed a hiker back there and he said it was almost 5 miles. That was about a mile ago. But fortunately, he said there is a water source right up ahead here. So I'm gonna go ahead and camel up on some water just in case I don't make it to Pine Grove. I just filtered water from this little creek, so I'm all cameled up and ready for a dry camp. It's 5:15 and I'm actively looking for a campsite now. I don't really want to try to walk 4 more miles and get to Pine Grove in the dark. So I got my eyes peeled for a good campsite. It's 5:45 and I just hit 25 miles and I have at least 2, maybe 2.5 to go. I haven't really found too many good spots to set up camp. I know I could make it work if I tried, put a little effort into finding a clear spot, but there's just something about a picnic table that keeps driving me forward. Well, I'm guessing you probably think I made it to Pine Grove Campground. I was planning on it, but I stumbled across a beautiful place to set up camp. Check it out. I'm glad I stopped. I'm about 1.5 miles away and the sun just dipped below the tree line, so it's gonna get dark quick. I'm gonna get some food started, gather some firewood, and relax the rest of this evening. Ended up with 26 miles. Oh, it feels good to sit down and not be walking. I got some water heating up for my appetizer. Hot and spicy Firewalk ramen. I'm gonna put it into this freezer bag and down inside my koozie to rehydrate. And then we'll dig out the main course here in a few minutes. Oh, luckily I still got 15-20 minutes to gather up some firewood, but I am ready to eat. I went way too long without a proper meal. Seasoning packet. Huh, they smell pretty good. Usually ramen is just plain noodles. This is actually seasoned already. Man, I bet these are gonna be good. It recommends 2 cups. I did 1.5 cups. And whoa, if it's too much water, we'll just add some mashed potatoes. Stick it down here in this koozie so it stays nice and hot. And I'll put the lid on. We'll let it set for a few minutes while I gather some firewood. Right here next to camp, we have the perfect starter wood for a fire. These little tips of these dead evergreen trees. I'm not sure what kind of tree that is. Some kind of pine tree or something. But man, this stuff will go right up. And we're gonna try out the birch bark. Wow, that stuff lights right up. It's pretty awesome. Oh, I should have put some big sticks around it. I think that's gonna go. Everything's pretty dry. We'll save a little piece for tomorrow. That was one of the easiest fires I've started in a long time. All right, hot and spicy ramen. Not bad. Woo! They're definitely spicy. My goodness. Well, it's 7 o'clock and getting dark quickly. It's a lot darker than the camera shows. So I'm glad I didn't try to go to Pine Grove. I'd probably just be getting there right now and then have to do all this in the dark. Not that it's that big of a deal. I've set up camp many, many times in the dark, but I didn't really feel like doing it tonight. My mouth's on fire from these hot ramens. Holy moly. I want to cool it off with some Mountain House. Well, it's finally bright enough to see out, to navigate my way down the trail without my headlamp. Just in the last 5 minutes. It's incredible how dark it stays late into the morning before the time change. So yeah, it's 7:45, just enjoying the last moments of heat from my fire. Warm my hands up one last time before I put this thing all the way out and hit the trail. All right, back on the trail. An hour earlier than yesterday. I was pretty upset with myself yesterday not getting out of camp till 8:45. And then stopping several times along the way. It took 20 minutes each stop. You know, once I flew the drone at the shelter, and another 15 or 20 minute stop when I made some lunch and filtered water. All those things add up. So I felt like I was kind of behind the 8 ball all day yesterday to get these miles in. So it feels good to get out of camp an hour earlier than yesterday. However, I only had my cup of coffee this morning and I have a little breakfast bar to eat. So I'm planning to stop up here at Pine Grove campground, get some water because I'm just about out, and maybe cook up some oatmeal. I'm hoping to only be there for 20 or 30 minutes and get right back on the trail to try to get about a 20-mile day in today. So I was looking at the mileage that I have left. It's somewhere around 35 miles. And I'm about 40 miles in currently. So definitely got one more night out here and probably almost 2 full days. It all depends on how far I go today. So if I go at least 20 today, that would leave about 15 for tomorrow, which is pretty manageable to get out early afternoon. So that's kind of my game plan. But right now, I'm on the lookout for a campground to fill up with some water and get some oatmeal in me. I'm guessing we're getting close, seeing how there's a fence right here. And I believe that's the Pigeon River that goes right by the campground. which I may have to end up fording. Not looking forward to that. There's a bridge out. There's 2 places it has to be forded, but I think one place has a rickety old bridge that you might be able to make it across, and the other spot may have a log, so we'll see. I really don't feel like walking through 40-degree water when it's about 35 degrees out. That does not sound fun. I'm guessing I'm at Pine Grove Campground. Oh my goodness. Look at that pile of firewood I could have used if I would have made it here. I was only 1 mile away. Oh, a 20-minute walk last night and I would have been here. Had a picnic table, an amazing place to set up my tent, and firewood. Oh well, I'm not complaining. I enjoyed my spot last night. It was a cold one again last night. You can see all the frost here. Everything's glistening. It won't last for long though. It's going to be in the upper 50s or even 60 today, I think. This is definitely the frostiest area I've seen, and it's right down here by the river. Pigeon River's like 20 feet away from me. We're getting ready to cross it here in a little bit, and I sure hope there's a way to get across without wading through the water. Well, here's the crossing. Looks like it's only knee deep. There's a lot of mud right here that I've read about people sinking in quite a bit. Well, there's a trail right up there. I'm gonna investigate just a little bit to see if it's any better crossing up ahead. Otherwise, we're gonna have to go in right here. And I'll probably take my shoes and socks off. Since I'm just getting started today, I don't really want to hike with wet shoes and socks all day. Well, for a couple hours anyway, until they dried out. It's gonna be cold, but it has to be done. Well, what do you know? 50 yards down the trail, a tree all the way across the river. I knew I had read somewhere there was a tree to get me across the river. I just didn't know if it was this section or another section down by Pigeon River Campground. Well, I guess I lucked out. I got a tree. It actually looks pretty easy, but it is a touch on the slick side because of the frost. I just gotta be careful. That would not be fun to fall in this right now. All right, piece of cake. I've had way sketchier river crossings than that one. That was easy. Ah, the sun is finally starting to make an appearance. And I'm glad because it has been cold. My hands, my fingertips are freezing. So I didn't cook any breakfast back there at Pine Grove. I was just a little chilly and didn't really feel like stopping for 20 minutes. So I just decided to continue on and cook some breakfast once things warmed up a little bit. But I'm getting pretty hungry now. I'm only 2.5 miles in. But I forgot to top off my water when I was down at the Pigeon River. I didn't see any water pump at Pine Grove, so I'm guessing there wasn't. If there was, I just didn't see it. So I was gonna filter water at the Pigeon River, and I completely forgot. And I'm almost out. I probably have a couple cups. And I'm sure I'm gonna cross the Pigeon River again. I'll have to look at my map, I can't remember. But I'm not sure where my next water source is gonna be. But we need to find one here pretty quickly. Man, I love walking through the trail when it's this color. The leaves aren't crunchy yet, and they're still full of color. There's a fair amount of green leaves in certain sections. Oh boy, that feels good. Totally different environment all of a sudden. Really green still, and lots of tall hardwoods. Oh, just soaking up that heat. Feels so good. I'm 4 miles in. I'm starving, so I decided to stop right here where the sun is beating down on me. And I got this little log here. I'm gonna make peanut butter and jelly wrap. Not my typical breakfast. I was actually saving up for an afternoon snack or a lunch, but I don't feel like breaking out the stove. So peanut butter and jelly wrap, and then back on the trail. All right, I have 3 of these little jam packets, strawberry preserves, and usually I have like a Jif peanut butter cup with me, but today I got this Windstone Farms peanut butter in a packet. I think I'm only going to put 2 of these packets on. That's quite a bit of jelly or preserves. Definitely not my favorite trail food, but I am starting to get low on stuff. I want to make sure I have a lunch left for today, a good dinner tonight, breakfast tomorrow, and lunch tomorrow, and I'll be out of food. So I got to make sure I'm below 15 miles left for tomorrow, which means at least an 18 to 20 mile day today. So it means I need to go past Town Corner State Forest Campground. So I'll probably camp somewhere between Town Corner and Rattlesnake Hill, I think is what it's called. And then that should get me somewhere between 14 and 16 miles back to Clear Lake tomorrow. Oh man, that sun is nice. My fingers are finally warming up. The green tunnel. This might be the greenest section I've seen yet. Looks like we're here at a little intersection. The Shingle Mill Pathway, which goes that way. It says it's also part of the High Country Pathway, but this is the main trail that goes to the Pigeon River parking area. On Sturgeon Road or whatever it's called. We are not going that way. We're staying on the High Country Pathway proper, and I think we're 4 miles away from the parking lot and crossing the Pigeon River again, which is where I will filter some water because I'm down to my final few gulps. The trail has noticeably become more traveled, well worn. This is a beautiful section. I don't know if you can see that little body of water right in front of me. There's a little pond down there. It's called the Paul Bunyan Punch Bowl. Let's go down here and take a little look at it. It's got a beautiful reflection. This is steep. I gotta be careful not to fall in. Wow, that is gorgeous. Paul Bunyan's Punch Bowl. Currently walking along the edge of Grass Lake. This isn't a bad campsite. This is actually the first campsite I have seen in like 40 miles. Other than that really small one we saw yesterday with the little fire ring, the little mini fire ring by Dog Lake. But here we are at Grass Lake. It's nice that it's calm today, finally. It's been really windy the last 2 days. I actually think I'm going to filter just a couple cups of water real quick. Don't need to filter water from Grass Lake where I just did. 100 yards down trail was this nice, refreshing, flowing creek. I just stumbled upon another backcountry campsite. Let's go check it out. It's right here along the Pigeon River. This is nice. Wow, that water is moving. I'm gonna have to check out this river too. I have looked at it once for kayaking, but it was just a little farther than I wanted to go. Not a really easy spot to get water, I guess right there. This is a nice site. If it was time to stop today, I would definitely stay here. I was gonna wait till I got to the parking lot in another mile. I'm about 9.5 miles in right now, and I think it's almost lunchtime. 11:30, perfect. I think I'm gonna take a load off right here and cook some lunch. Got me a little place to sit and relax and enjoy the beautiful Pigeon River and the sunshine. I'm definitely dropping a pin here of this campsite on Gaia, so I know to stop here when I'm kayaking the Pigeon River someday. Beautiful spot. Hot and spicy ramens again. I have 2 meals left in here. I have a beef stroganoff from Peak Refuel and for tonight, and Mountain House breakfast skillet for tomorrow morning. A payday and a tailwind and some mashed potatoes. That's about it. So I definitely got to get out of here by tomorrow around lunchtime, or I will be out of food. Man, it took a while to get a boil because it's breezy. Oh boy, definitely feeling a little stiff after sitting down and enjoying that lunch for probably 25 minutes, but time to get back on the move. We're almost to Pigeon River parking area. That's all I know. I'll point it out when we get there. I think we're just a mile or 2 away. Check out this bent tree. You don't see something like that every day. That was one extensive boardwalk. And this is the only spot there's a little bridge like this. And running water. Looks nice and clear. But this boardwalk right here, I kid you not, was close to a 1/4 mile. At least 300 yards of 2x12s. Another perfect place for filtering water along the Pigeon River. Man, I can't get over this river. This is beautiful. East Sturgeon Valley Road. Let's go take a peek at the Pigeon River from the top of the bridge. I like it. Clear, quick, and shallow. All right, looks like I gotta walk about 100 yards or so down this road to the parking lot. Then we'll hop back on the trail and start making our way towards Town Center State Forest Campground. I'm hoping to push on past that tonight, but if it's 9 or 10 miles away, that'll put me at 20. I'm at 11 miles right now. I don't really want to go beyond 20 miles today, unless I have to. We'll see how the day shakes out. I'm feeling pretty good, but Town Center Campground might be where I end up tonight. We'll see. Shingle Mill and High Country Pathway. And there is a campground right here. I thought you had to hike in several miles, but this is the State Forest Campground right here. Man, this is nice. I mean, it's right on a road. Wow, this is beautiful. I really like it, other than being right on a highway. Well, it's not really a highway. It looks like a state route or county road, I'm not sure. But I think I am going to stop here for a few minutes and shed some layers. It's starting to get pretty warm. The sun is out in full force now, and it feels amazing. It's got to be approaching 60, if not already 60. I've shed all my layers. I'm down to shorts and t-shirt. A far cry from what it was this morning with frost everywhere, and I was freezing. So this is very pleasant temperatures to be hiking in, that's for sure. It just dawned on me that there is nothing out here but pines, evergreens, coniferous, deciduous. I get all my evergreen terms mixed up. Non-deciduous? Why can't I remember that? But just look at this. There's not one hardwood. Well, I guess there's a few random hardwoods out there where you can see the yellow color. This is beautiful. This is what I thought it was going to look like around Pine Grove campground. I thought it would be groves and groves of pines. But not the case. All the pines are south of Pigeon River campground. This might just be my favorite section so far, hiking through these pines, because of the pine duff on the ground. Makes for a soft step. It smells good. It smells fresh and clean. It's very pretty and serene. I love it. So if you're looking for the best section, well, I'll talk about this later after I've done the whole thing. But so far, the best section has been south of Pigeon River State Forest Campground. I'm telling you, take away the ferns, and you wouldn't know the difference between this and Ocala National Forest in Florida or parts of the Palmetto Trail in South Carolina. Very similar. There's got to be a bear out there somewhere. So I was just thinking about something. The main reason that I would choose a state forest campground tonight would be to get the picnic table. I love picnic tables when I'm camping. It's so convenient and nice. However, what I don't like is how hard the ground is where I sleep. Because I have my Nemo switchback, and I have not been sleeping good on that. It is too hard. So I would rather be in something soft like this to lay my pad in, or have some kind of moss or leaves underneath me to be able to sleep better with that switchback. I'm going back to the Nemo tensor from now on, which is what I always use 99% of the time. I just wanted to try this out to see if I like using it. I do like the convenience of it, how fast it is, and how you can also take it outside your tent and use it as a sit pad around the fire, especially if you don't have your chair with you. And I did not bring my chair with me this time for that reason, knowing that I could use this as a sit pad. So I think I'm going to go back to using the tensor, but I'm going to buy a little sit pad, you know, that's made out of this material here, like the switchback is, but it's only like a 1 square foot or something. Yep, that's what I'm going to do in the future, I think. That's really random. Man, I just love those red maple leaves with yellow right next to it, and pine trees. Doesn't get much prettier, especially with a trail right down the center of all of it. Hey, we got like a little mowed pasture. This would be the perfect place for an elk sighting. Just hit 17 miles, creeping up on that 20. So I've decided I'm not going to stop at Town Corner State Forest Campground. It's almost a mile off trail, it looks like, at least a half mile. That's a good chunk further down the trail I could be. So now I'm feeling pretty good. So we're going to keep on trucking along and at least go a few miles past Town Corner. Wow, check out this campsite. This is awesome. It'd be a perfect place to hang a hammock right there. Nice fire ring, some seats. If it was just 2 hours later, I would take it. Onward. Hey, what do you know? A bench and a view. I might sit down for a minute and rest. All right, I have arrived to the Town Corner Campground Spur. I don't know exactly how far it is. If I find out, I'll put it up on the screen right now. But I'm guessing it's somewhere between a half mile and a mile long. We're heading to the Black River to camel up. So according to my Gaia notes, I'm about 19 miles from my truck. And I'm currently 19 miles in right now for the day. So every mile further I go right now will make my day easier tomorrow, especially since I only have enough food to make it through half of a day. So I'll probably go another hour or so, but I am gonna camel up on water at the Black River here in the next mile, and then I'll start actively looking for camp. I'm here at the Black River, and it looks like I'm gonna have to ford it. I don't see any tree branches. I might take there's a trail right here. I'll take a quick peek down there just in case. But I thought I saw pictures of an old bridge that was leaning real bad. Guess not. Oh, ice cold. Oh, pretty good. Oh my, that is cold. Well, I probably just burnt 20 minutes fording this river and filtering water, but I am all cameled up and ready for a dry campsite. So let's see what time it is. The sun is still way up in the sky and it's very nice and warm out. It's 4 o'clock. So sometime between 4 and 5 is when I wanted to find a campsite. That is my goal. I do not want to go past 5. I want time to relax and camp tonight and not be rushing to try to beat the darkness. So I was just looking at my Gaia app, and there is another water source coming up called Hodge Creek. I was not aware of this. I thought Black River that I just forded was my last opportunity to get water for some time. So we'll see what it looks like down at Hodge Creek. Maybe there'll be a good place to camp there. If not, we might push on a little further. I guess it's nice to know that the Black River is not your only water source down in this area. One thing's for sure is there won't be a campsite anywhere in this crap. I'm so sick of hiking through these dead ferns. I can't imagine what it's like in the spring and summer when these things are all green and lush. Oh, I bet this is Hodge Creek. It looks like good water from here. Yeah, this would have worked out great. But it feels cold and damp down here. Definitely wouldn't want to camp in this area. You'd wake up with dew or frost all over you. I thought about setting up camp right here on top of this hill. I love that view. And the ferns aren't too bad, but it's just not level enough right here. So I'm gonna keep on going. Maybe we'll get lucky here in a little bit. But I'd like to find something flat with a little bit of a view. And up high, since I have water with me, why not go up high? Avoid the dew and the frost. All right, I got my tent set up. It's 5:20 p.m. So I'm gonna have a good hour and a half to enjoy camp. I'm gonna start off with a little appetizer of white miso soup. And then the main course, one of my all-time favorites, Peak Refuel beef stroganoff. Feels good to lay down. Eight ounces. And I don't like to put food in my pot. I usually just like to put water in it. But this turns out way better because of the dried tofu and mainly the algae, moss, whatever it is. Shoot, I started to look on here to see what it is. Kelp. Yeah, that was the right word. I couldn't think of it. There's like a little flecks of kelp in here and they expand into big leaves almost, big chunks. This hot broth is going to hit the spot after another long day. All right, it's done. It just came to a boil. Now we just let it cool down a little bit, be good to go. Look at these massive chunks of kelp. They're really good. Man, that was excellent. That hit the spot. I could eat a second one. Good morning. Friday, 7 a.m. I can't believe how dark it is at 7 a.m. I mean, it's like the middle of the night. I can just barely see some light in the sky starting to approach. In the east, I got 16 miles or so to get out of here. My plan is to be back at my truck by 2 p.m. 3 at the latest, and then start making my way south towards Ohio and find a good restaurant nearby a state forest campground on my way home, maybe around 4 or 5 o'clock. I might even go to Grayling. Grayling has a couple nice restaurants and breweries, and there's a state forest campground, North Higgins Lake, just like 10 miles south of it. That's my plan right now. Cooking up some oatmeal for breakfast today. And then I have one breakfast skillet that I could cook for lunch if I need to. And I'm pretty sure I will, with 16 miles to go. I got on trail at 7:30 this morning, the earliest of my 3 mornings out here. Since day one, I didn't start till 1:15 in the afternoon. But I'm chomping at the bit to finish this thing up in a timely manner. And pack up just went really smooth today. So it feels good to be on trail even before the sun's up. It's starting to get light out. And there's the moon. It was really bright. All 3 nights it was really bright out here. Looking forward to finishing up these last 16-ish miles into Clear Lake State Park. It's amazing what 15 minutes does. It's going to be another beautiful day on trail. The only problem I foresee today or this morning is needing water. I am just about out. I probably have a cup left, maybe a cup and a half. So I need to look on my Gaia app and see where the next water source is, because I might have to ration this for a while. I hope I don't have to go all the way to Clear Lake on this water, but I highly doubt that. It seems like there's been decent water sources when I need them, because if I don't find water in the next 5 miles, I'll start getting a little desperate and thirsty. So those of you who are watching that may be wondering about bears, I haven't seen any signs of them whatsoever. Not even any bear droppings. I haven't even seen any elk droppings or deer droppings. I've seen a few deer, but mainly the only wildlife I've seen out here are the big birds that jump out of the bushes right next to you and scare the crap out of you. Quail, maybe? I don't think they're grouse. I think they're quail. Partridge? I don't know. I think they're quail. Great big birds with a loud fluttering noise that just jump right out when you almost step on them sometimes. There's been a lot of those. So last night was the mildest of the 3 nights. I slept really good. Well, I still didn't sleep that great on that switchback pad. but it was the best of the 3 nights. It was the warmest. And as far as the terrain goes, I haven't really talked about it much. To me, 95% of this trail is just like walking through any woods in Ohio or Michigan. Yes, there's some beautiful areas, but it's not like there's any massive mountains or cliffs or hollers, you know, stuff I'm used to seeing in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee. But for Michigan, yeah, it's pretty nice. And it's very gentle rolling hills for the most part, or flat. No major climbs whatsoever. A couple little ups and downs, kind of rolling gentle hills. But overall, this trail is very smooth, easy hiking and easy biking for the most part. The boardwalks might give bikers a little bit of trouble from time to time, but yeah, this is a wonderful trail to train on for maybe bigger hikes or to go bikepacking on. Just playing your water carefully. It can be a little difficult to find good water sources. They're out there. It's just good to know where they're at ahead of time. We're in another green section, just starting to turn here. It's crazy how some areas are almost beyond peak color and other areas are just starting to turn. As far as cell service, I started at Clear Lake. I was able to get online. I had 2 bars of Verizon there, all the way to Shoepac, and even for most of the way from Shoepac to the Canada River shelter. But after that, I went down to 1 bar and I was able to do nothing but text. And then from Pine Grove to a little beyond Pigeon River, I had no service for about 2 or 3 hours of walking. And then once I got past Town Corner last night, a few miles, and at camp last night, 2 bars of service popped back up and I was able to get back online. So I wonder if it is still. I'm down to 1 bar. So for a majority of this trail, you can count on at least 1 bar. And I'm guessing 2 bars for maybe almost half of it, at least a third of it. The lack of primitive campsites along the trail tells me that, well, it tells me 2 things. 1, it's not heavily traveled. And 2, most people are choosing to stay at the state forest campgrounds during their hike, which is perfectly fine. It's just sometimes they don't line up with how you plan your mileage, especially if you're doing 20 plus miles a day like I am. I wasn't able to make the campgrounds always work for me when I needed to stop or wanted to stop. But if you're taking 5 days and 4 nights, I think you could probably stay at all the campgrounds, majority of the campgrounds in that Canada River shelter. Boy, sometimes you turn the corner and it's a breathtaking view of color and sunshine. My goodness. This looks like the perfect spot for an elk sighting. It just dawned on me that I never mentioned my toe again since the first day, and when I was complaining about my my left pinky toe. Had that kind of swollen up spot, like a little extra toenail on the outside that I trimmed up. Anyway, I wrapped it with Leukotape, and even though I noticed it the next day and then the following day after that, it wasn't terrible. And I actually took the Leukotape off last night because it was starting to fall off. And it feels a lot better, but I still notice it from time to time. I think it was just hiking in the rain and having wet feet all day on day 1. That whatever's going on with it that's what caused the problem. But much better now, and obviously I had no problem hiking 20 plus miles a day with it. So got some good news about the water. I just looked on my Gaia app. I'm currently 3 miles in from where I camped last night, and it looks like about the same distance ahead of me I'll be crossing the East Fork of the Black River. So water crisis averted. I think I can make it. I'm down to my final cup. Well, that's interesting. They're saying the marks on these beech trees down here are from bear. Huh, don't see that every day. just popped out on this little gravel road, and we've got a water crossing here in about a quarter mile at the Shingle Bridge, and it will be the East Fork of the Black River. Just in the nick of time, because I am out of water. The only good thing about being out of water is that it makes your pack extra light. Whew, that water's gold. I am less than a mile away from Rattlesnake Hill. I see a pretty big hill in front of me. I'm guessing that's what it is. Whew! That was a pretty good climb. Got me huffing and puffing a little bit and warmed up. I'm guessing that's the top of Rattlesnake Hill. This is by far the steepest climb so far over the past 68 miles that I've done. And the sand doesn't make it any easier. All right, I made it to the top. Looks like there's a little campsite here with some firewood and a bench to relax on. Wow. I'm a little confused because there's a pathway sign right there and going down a different way than what I just came up. I'll have to check out Gaia. But here's our view. That is by far the best view of the trip. That is spectacular. Wow. Let's see what's on the other side of these shrubs here. My goodness. It almost doesn't seem like you're in Michigan. What a view. Made it to the top of the second Rattlesnake Hill, because I think it's Rattlesnake Hills. Another little campsite there. But no good view. It's obstructed. I'm hoping we still have another one coming. We will see. Another pretty big ridge line across the valley there. The view's not quite as good because of the sun glare. Just stopping for a quick break to shed some layers. It's getting pretty warm. I just hit 8 miles for today, which means 70 for the whole trip. So I think I only have somewhere between 7 and 8 miles left. You know, just guessing by looking at the tracking on Gaia. So yeah, a couple more hours and we'll be wrapping this thing up. All right, that feels better. I was getting pretty warm. I'm down to my last remaining calories that I can eat along trail, 200 calories of trail butter. And if that doesn't last me the next 3 hours, which it probably won't, I'll have to stop and break out my stove and cook my breakfast skillet. And then I'm completely out of food. So we'll see what happens. I might be able to make it. I should be off trail in 3 hours. It'll be close. You know, I've been mushroom hunting up here in northeast Michigan, between Gaylord and Atlanta, since I was 17 years old. I used to come up here every year with one of my buddies and their family to hunt the elusive yellow sponge and gray sponge and black sponge mushrooms. Well, I think they call them whites up here. So yeah, a lot of good memories up in this area, and I've always wanted to come up here and backpack this area. So feels good to have finally made it up here and backpacked on the high country pathway. Well, as I finish up my final 5 miles of the high country pathway, I was thinking about lessons that maybe I learned along the way to improve my backpacking experience in the future. And I think the biggest takeaway for me on this trip is that I don't always have to end up at a water source to camp at the end of the day. I didn't have water on night 2 or 3. And I also chose sites that were up high. So all 3 nights I had no dew, no frost on my tent. So from here on out, I think I'm gonna lean more towards dry camping and just camel up on the water carrying capacity that I have, hike up high, look for something with a view, and it's gonna be warmer and drier. And yeah, just a better experience all the way around. There's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and having to wipe dew off of the inside and the outside of your single wall tent, which is what I use. It's a Z-Pack duplex, if you were wondering. And yeah, you got water there with you. That's always good. But if you could just carry a couple bottles to your dry site, I think it's better off in the long run. And 2 more things I just thought of that I was fortunate enough to have on both of my dry campsites. White birch bark for starting my fire. There was some laying on the ground, or I had a tree right next to me, so it made starting a fire really easy. And having some kind of pine tree with those low dead branches for starting the fire. They're always dead and dry, and they light really easy. So those 3 things in combination made for my dry camping experience to be fantastic on this trip. So during this entire 4-day backpacking trip, I saw 1 backpacker, 2 hunters, and 1 guy walking his dog today, and 2 bikers who were tackling the entire loop in 1 day. That's it. And I bet if I wasn't out here on a Friday, I wouldn't even have seen that many people. Probably just that backpacker. So if you want complete solitude and peace and quiet and alone time on the trail, the high country pathway during the week is where it's at. Hey, we got a water source. I better get a little bit. This is some fresh trail work right here. Very nice. At Van Halen, oh, Van Helen. Van Helen? I thought it said Van Halen Creek. All right, down to my final 3 miles. Back to my truck. Feels kind of funny out here walking on this paved road. Been on it for about a half mile, but I think we jump off of it up here to the right somewhere and head towards Clear Lake. So I was wrong thinking this trail was only 73 miles long. I just hit 78. Now I did have probably a half mile to 3/4 of a mile of missed turns. And there's also an additional half mile I added walking from my truck to get to the pathway from Clear Lake State Park. But yeah, I'm guessing the trail is more like 78 miles, not 73. All right, I've made it back to where I started. This is the beginning of the pathway. That's the way I went, and there's where I just came from. Going down to check out this Clear Lake. Man, it really is clear. Look at that. That is pristine water. And I think the campground is right over there. Alrighty folks, that's a wrap on the High Country Pathway. I'm back here right where it all started 4 days and 79 miles ago at Clear Lake State Park. I always have a fantastic time on these multi-day getaways. I really enjoyed myself out there. Thank you so much for coming along. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Until next time, I'm Jason Wish, wishing you all a great time on your next adventure. So long.